Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Very happy and grateful to be amidst all of you all here today. Thank you for coming. Today I'm going to be sharing with you all something from the Ramayana that probably you all may not have heard in this way. Most people think that Ramayana is a book of leadership. It's a very practical book, but it's not exactly a book of devotion. And we find Bhagavatam is a book of devotion, Bhagavad Gita is a book of devotion. But when it comes to Ramayana, we think that it's a nice story, but it probably has a lot of life lessons. But it's not exactly a Bhakti literature. Today I'm going to prove it wrong. Today I'm going to prove to you all that Ramayana is as much a Bhakti literature as any other scripture that we can come across. And I'm going to discuss the concept of Navavidha Bhakti from Ramayana. How the 9 processes of devotional service that Prahlad Maharaj speaks about in the Srimad Bhagavatam, we find all that 9 processes of devotional service being followed in the Ramayana. And this will really prove to all of us that Ramayana is a very intensely Bhakti literature. Though apparently the storyline seems to be a very, fun-filled, entertaining and exciting story. But deep within that storyline is a very, very powerful message of devotion. So that's what we'll be doing. So we'll be picking up all these 9 processes of devotional service, Navavidha Bhakti, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Vandanam, Padasevanam, like the whole process, 9 processes. And each of them will be seen from the Ramayana. And interestingly, there is a commentary on the Ramayana called Ramayana Ratnakar, where the Acharyas, they actually speak about how every limb of the 9 processes of Bhakti is represented by one of the personalities, one of the characters in the Ramayana. So each limb of Bhakti is represented by one very, very powerful personality in the Ramayana. We'll speak about those stories of those personalities and how they represent that particular limb of Bhakti. And of course, as we are learning these stories from the Ramayana and as we are looking at all these personalities, it will help us understand and solidify our own path of Bhakti, the way we can practice the Navavidha Bhakti in our own lives. So that's the theme of today, and that's what we'll try to attempt today. All of you are ready?
Yes.
Okay. So, the Ramayana, as I said, it cannot begin without the mention of Hanumanji. And Hanuman represents the first limb of Bhakti, which is Shravanam. So Hanuman is Shravanam personified, literally. What is the meaning of Shravanam? Shravanam means hearing. So devotion cannot begin without hearing. In fact, the first limb of the human body, first sense of the human body that really starts functioning is the ears. When we're sleeping in the night, our eyes don't function. Most of our senses don't really function, but the ears are always functioning. And unfortunately, our ears can be used to hear good things or it can be used to hear bad things. Like in the Ramayana, we have Kumbhakarna. The word Karna means ears. And Kumbhakarna means somebody who had big ears. So obviously someone who has very big ears can hear a lot, isn't it? But he used those ears for hearing the wrong things. He was using those ears to hear praise about himself. He was using those ears to hear gossip and all nonsense, basically. He slept for 6 months, he got up only one day. And that one day he heard a lot of nonsense. So all of us in our lives, we hear a lot, isn't it? I see in wherever I travel, people are using those earbuds, constantly hearing, I mean, God knows what's going to happen to all those using those earbuds constantly. But God, what are we hearing? Are we hearing something that is going to uplift us, or are we hearing something that is going to degrade us, basically? Hanumanji when he met Mother Sita and he came back from Lanka to meet Lord Ram, Lord Ram was so grateful to Hanumanji for the service that he did that Lord Ram embraced Hanuman. Now, Ram didn't have anything to give him. So he said, the only thing I can give you is my embrace. And he embraced Hanumanji. And that day, the moment Ram embraced Hanumanji, Hanumanji took a vow. You know what vow he took? He took a vow that he will not die. Because he said, this body has been touched by Ram. This body has become holy. It has become sacred. So I will not give up this body only. Imagine. There was one rock star from America came to India many years back and did a performance in Bombay. Massive stadium, And after this performance, this fellow, he kissed one girl on her cheeks. And this girl didn't have a bath for 7 days. This is a perverted reflection of what Hanumanji did. Of course, it's not that, after 7 days of not having bath, you start smelling fragrant, Anyway, so when Hanumanji took that vow, he also asked Lord Ram for another benediction. The benediction that he asked Ram was, wherever Ram Katha happens, give me the benediction that I go there and I sit and hear Ram Katha. I mean, isn't that amazing? See, if there is anyone in this world who knows Ramayana the most, it's Hanumanji. Isn't it? Hanuman himself has done so much Ram Katha in his life, But look at him. He has such a desire to hear Ram Katha. Anyone who is doing Ram Katha, he will be sitting there. Probably somewhere in this room also Hanumanji is there, in some form. Many years back when Tulsidas, he wanted to really desperately have darshan of the Lord. He did so many things to try to get the mercy of the Lord. So Tulsidas ji, every day he would do his puja, he would do his Gayatri, and then after he would do his rituals, the water that remained in his kamandalu, he would pour it under a tree. And he did that for weeks and weeks and weeks. Regularly, he just poured that water under the tree. One day, from that tree, there was a ghost that was living in that tree. And this ghost spoke to Tulsidas ji. And he said, because you nourished me with so much water, I have been thirsty for lifetimes. And because you kept pouring this water, I became delivered from this miserable condition. So he said, I'll give you any benediction. You ask me for any boon you want. Tulsidas ji said, the only boon I want is I want to have the blessings and darshan of Lord Ram. The ghost said, see, I'm not sure whether I can help you with that, but I'll give you a way to get that. So the ghost said, whenever you do Ram Katha, every day when you do Ram Katha, one person comes and attends the Ram Katha. And he comes with a blanket and comes in the form of a beggar. And he's a leper. And that is Hanumanji. But before you finish the Katha, exactly when you finish, before you get up, he runs away. So he said, if you can somehow catch him, then he can help you get darshan of Ram. Tulsidas is giving Katha over here. And the moment he starts the Katha, he notices one, leper coming, fully covered in a blanket. And he sits in one corner. He hears Katha absolutely attentively. And the moment the Katha gets over, he gets up and he wants to run away. And Tulsidas ji is prepared this time. The moment that person gets up, Tulsidas ji runs from the Vyasasana, runs and jumps and catches hold of his feet. And Hanumanji is surprised, that he has been caught like that. So he says, leave me. Tulsidas says, no, I will not leave you at all. So Hanumanji asks him, what do you want? He said, please help me get darshan of Lord Ram. That's all I want. So Tulsidaji says, so Hanumanji says, fine. And he says, I will help you get darshan of Ram, you come to Chitrakoot. So he says like that, Hanumanji goes away. So Tulsidaji shifts his, so this happens, the story happens in Varanasi, in Kashi. And after he gets the instruction from Hanumanji, Tulsidaji shifts to Chitrakoot and starts residing in Chitrakoot. So one day, when Tulsidaji is sitting there and doing his bhajan, so Hanuman had told him that in Chitrakoot you will get darshan of Lord Ram. And he said, I will help you twice. If within those 2 attempts, if you somehow manage to get darshan of Ram, you get it, otherwise I can't help you more. So Tulsidaji was doing his bhajan one day and he was very absorbed in his bhajan. And he saw a procession going. And he saw 2 very powerful, regal looking princes on horse going in the procession. And Tulsidaji is not so much bothered, he is doing his bhajan only, he is just absorbed in his bhajan. And after the whole procession gets over, Hanumanji comes to Tulsidaji, did you have darshan? He said, what? What darshan? Hanumanji said, Lord Ram and Lakshman went in a horse. Did you have darshan? He said, oh no, I thought they were princes and I didn't want to look at materialistic people, so I didn't bother. So Hanumanji said, see, you have one more chance. And I will help you this time somehow to get darshan, but you be attentive. So then Tulsidaji one day, he on a daily basis, Tulsidaji sits on the bank of a river and he is making chandan paste. And all the pilgrims that come over there, Tulsidaji puts tika on their head. And so that's one of the services that he does. So while he was doing that, there was a little boy that came. And this little boy, Tulsidaji is putting chandan for everybody, but this little boy starts putting tilak for Tulsidaji. And Tulsidaji is surprised looking at that small, cute little boy, and he allows him, And exactly at that time, Hanumanji takes the form of a small parrot. He's sitting in one corner, and loudly he shouts out and tells him, that's the Lord. And immediately Tulsidaji understands that Ram only has come in the form of this little boy. And Tulsidaji immediately takes shelter of Lord Ram's lotus feet. So this story teaches us a very important principle. Of course, that empowers Tulsidaji to actually write the Ramayana. So now, look at Hanumanji's personality. Lord Hanuman is fully filled with Lord Ram. So I'm completely absorbed in Ram. But where does his absorption come from? His absorption comes from the fact that he constantly keeps himself nourished with Ram Katha and Ram Naam, isn't it? So for us, the foundation of spiritual life is always Shravanam. The foundation of spiritual existence is hearing. So if you have good quality hearing, you will have good quality practice of spiritual life. So no matter what, one thing that we should never compromise on is the quality of our hearing. And as much as possible, one should try one's best to develop the right quality of hearing. And of course, when I'm saying right quality of hearing, what does it mean? It means that, first of all, hear from people who are authorized, bona fide. Second thing is, even when you hear from bona fide people, choose those devotees that have the right mood, the right consciousness, and right depth of hearing. Because when you hear Krishna Katha, Ram Katha, Chaitanya Katha from deeply realized souls who have very deep realizations, those realizations will have a powerful impact in your consciousness. And the quality of hearing determines the quality of your spiritual practice. As simple as that. So, hearing is almost like, the powerhouse of our spiritual practice. And without hearing, no matter how good you are in your sadhana, no matter how good you are as a devotee, it's only a matter of time that somewhere our fuel will start decreasing, Just like every car needs fuel to move further, and every electric car needs electricity to move further. Similarly, all of us need Shravanam to move further in our spiritual practices. The second personality that represents Navavidha Bhakti is Kirtanam. Kirtanam is represented by Valmiki Muni. So Shravanam is Hanumanji, Kirtanam is Valmiki. So imagine how much Kirtan Valmiki has done. Kirtan essentially means speaking about Lord Ram, speaking about Krishna, speaking Harikatha. So Kirtanam is one of the most powerful limbs of Bhakti because it helps so many people connect with the path of Bhakti, right? 24,000 shlokas Valmiki Muni has done Kirtanam. That's his Kirtan of Lord Ram. It says, Veda Vedye Parapumse Jate Dasharatatmaja Veda Pracheta Sadasit Sakshat Ramayanat Manaha. It says, this verse says, Veda Vedye Parapumse, the object of the Vedas. So when you study all the Vedas, there is an end result of studying the Vedas. So it says, Jate Dasharatatmaje. So it says the object of the Vedas is Ram. So the essence of the Vedas is Ram. And then it says, Veda Pracheta Sadashit Sakshat Ramayanatmana. And the same Vedas have appeared as Ramayana. So the essence of the Vedas is Ram and the Vedas is Ramayana. So if you are studying Ramayana, it's as good as studying the four Vedas. It's as good as studying all the scriptures. So Valmiki Muni, he is someone who has written the entire Ramayana, sung the entire Ramayana, absorbed himself in the entire Ramayana. And imagine the quality of his kirtan. Imagine the realizations, the depth with which he is singing the Ramayana. It is explained that Valmiki Muni, he first purified himself to be qualified to write the Ramayana. We know the story of how he was a hunter named Ratnakar, and after at a certain point he comes across his guru Narad Muni, who tells him that this is not the right thing to do. So Valmiki Muni says, this is the only way I know. This is the only life I know. So Narad Muni tells him, he gives him a PowerPoint presentation of what is waiting for him in the future, all the hellish planets. And when Valmiki sees that, he gets scared. And he asks him, what should I do? I don't want this. Then Narad Muni says, chant the names of Ram. But this hunter, Ratnakar, he was not even able to chant the name of Ram. It is not easy to chant the name of Ram. There was one little boy who was standing with his father, and they were seeing a funeral procession. There was one man lying on the, on the bed, and these four people were stretcher they were carrying, and the whole procession, everybody was saying Ram Naam Satya Hai, Ram Naam Satya Hai. So this little boy asked the father, what is this? Why is everybody saying Ram Naam Satya Hai? And why is that person lying down over there, The father said, see, the procession is for a dead person, And everybody is chanting the names of Ram. Ram Naam Satya Hai means the only truth is Ram Naam. So this boy looked carefully and he said, why is that fellow lying down? He is not chanting Ram Naam, So then the father said, dead people can't chant Ram Naam. The boy said, that means those who don't chant Ram Naam, are they dead? The father immediately started chanting Ram Naam. So that's the way it is, For anyone who has life, for anyone who has breath, it is a must that one should chant the holy names of the Lord. And that's the primary kirtan. So Narad Muni was trying to inspire Ratnakar, this hunter, to chant the name of Ram, but he was not able to chant the name of Ram because of the baggage of sin that he was carrying. So Narad Muni, he is a very expert preacher. An expert preacher knows how to make you chant. So he said, "Okay, fine, you're not able to chant the name of Ram. Can you chant the name Mara? Mara means death." So he said, "Yeah, that is my favorite word. He said, yeah, chant name of Mara. So he started chanting Mara, 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 Mara. It became Ram, essentially, isn't it? So Narad Muni somehow or the other, he tricked him into chanting the holy name of Ram. And then that, hundreds of years of chanting the holy name of Ram purified Valmiki so much that he became qualified to write the Ramayana. Imagine, the holy name of Ram is so powerful. So Valmiki, after he did sufficient kirtan, then he wrote the Ramayana. And then he taught Lavakush, the sons of Ram, to narrate the Ramayana, to speak the Ramayana. So interestingly, Valmiki was sitting over there and chanting the names of Ram, and a whole anthill formed over him, And then Narad Muni comes and he sees that, Valmiki is inside this anthill. His hunter is inside this anthill. From inside the anthill, the Ram Naam is coming out, Dhwani is coming out. So Narad Muni sprinkles some water, and from that anthill emerges a sage. And the word Valmiki means the one who has emerged from an anthill, basically. So it is explained that Valmiki was born from the earth. He got like a second life, he's born from the earth. And because he was born from the earth, he became qualified to host Sita, who is also born from the earth. Sita is Bhumi Suta, right? She's born from the earth. And Valmiki is born from the earth, and he was able to take care of Sita, who is also born from the earth. And because of these two things, because of his incessant chanting of the holy names of Ram, and because he personally took care of Mother Sita, he became qualified to write the Ramayana. And then when he wrote the Ramayana, he taught Lavakush the Ramayana. He taught them how to chant the Ramayana in the exact mood in which the Ramayana was written. He taught them not only the style of chanting, the entire 24,000 verses of the Ramayana is written in 1 meter. It's called Anushtup Chandaha. And Valmiki taught them to chant the Ramayana in the same meter. But along with that, he also taught them to chant the Ramayana in the mood of each verse. All the verses of Ramayana are in a particular mood. Some are according to the storyline, according to the emotions that are running of the characters. So Valmiki taught Lavakush very detailed. And when Lavakush became experts, they went and did Kirtanam in Ram's court. And the Ramayana that they narrated was so powerful that it mesmerized even Lord Ram. It is said that Lord Ram was sitting on a throne where Lavakush was chanting the Ramayana, And the throne of Lord Ram is 18 steps above the ground. So Ram was sitting on the throne alone, and he was hearing the Ram Katha being chanted by Lavakush. And all the ministers and all the citizens of Ayodhya were sitting down and hearing Ram Katha. And people were so absorbed in Ram Katha being narrated by Lavakush that they didn't even look at Ram at all for a considerable period of time. First time in Ayodhya, people didn't look at Ram. So usually in the court of Ayodhya, people couldn't resist looking at Ram. They were like constantly looking at Ram. But the first time in the entire history of Ayodhya, Ramayana is more attractive than Ram. So when Ram saw over there that nobody is looking at me only, and everybody is absorbed in Ram Katha, and they were all enjoying together, Ram was feeling that I am sitting alone over here on this throne. I don't have anybody company to enjoy with Ram Katha with. So he decided to come down from the throne to sit with everybody. But he didn't want to disturb anyone, because they're so absorbed in hearing Ram Katha. So Lord Ram caught his jewels, caught his crown, and he, without making any noise, he came down to the 18 steps. And he sat among the people of Ayodhya. Nobody even noticed that Ram came down, sat among them, and they were enjoying like anything. They were slapping each other's backs, they were clapping each other's hands, like they were really absorbed. And some of them, unknowingly, they were hitting Ram only. Because they didn't know Ram was sitting over here. So people were so absorbed in Ram Katha, and only when Lavakush finished the narration, they saw Ram was missing from there. And then they saw Ram is sitting among them. That's how powerful Kirtanam is. That's how powerful Kirtanam or Ram Katha is. So when people hear Ram Katha, when people hear the narration of Ram Katha being done in the right way, People forget food, people forget eating, drinking. It's completely absorbed in Ram Katha. And that's the credit of Valmiki. It is said Lord Brahma has given him the boon that as long as mountains exist, as long as oceans exist, as long as rivers flow, till that time Valmiki Ramayana will exist. And till that time, Valmiki's name will be associated with Ramayana. That's the benediction that Valmiki has got. So he is the authority in Kirtanam. The third personality in the Ramayana, so we saw Shravanam is Hanumanji, Kirtanam is Valmiki. The third personality is Smaranam. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam. And Smaranam is represented by Sita Devi. She is the personification of Smaranam. What is Smaranam? Smaranam means remembering. See, there is one thing that can never be taken away from you. It is your remembrance and absorption. See, there might be situations where you can't chant. Your family may not allow you to chant. Your colleagues in office may not allow you to chant. Your situation may not allow you to chant. It may be possible that you don't get to go to Katha, you don't get to go to Kirtans, you may not be able to sing. So Shravanam may not be possible, Kirtanam may not be possible in some situations in our life. But nobody can stop you from remembering. Can anyone stop you from remembering God? So you can't chant. You can't remember. How will they do that? They can say you can't chant, you can't hear. That's what they can do. But can anyone ever say you can't remember God? Impossible. That's what happened with Sita Devi. Sita Devi was taken away by Ravan, put in Lanka, in an environment where there was no Kirtan going on. There was no Shravanam going on. And she had no option to do any kind of deity worship. She couldn't do anything. But the one thing Ravan could never stop her from doing was remembering. And she was so absorbed in Ram. She was so absorbed in Ram constantly from morning to night. Completely absorbed in Ram. The interesting part was when Hanumanji saw Mother Sita and he saw her for the first time in his life. He didn't know who Sita was. He had never seen her. There was no Instagram profile of Sita at that point. So how do you recognize Sita? The way Hanuman recognized Sita was amazing. It is said that when Hanuman saw Sita, he got the shock of his life. Because Sita looked exactly like Ram. She looked exactly like Ram. The Acharyas explained that Sita had attained what is known as Sarupya Mukti. Sarupya Mukti means you look exactly like God. There's a particular form of liberation. It's called Sarupya. There are many types of liberation. One of the forms of liberation is called Sarupya Mukti. So that means when you meditate so much on God, you start looking like God. I'm sure you must have seen, some husband wives in the old days, they start looking like each other. I don't know if you all have seen. They're meditating on each other so much that by the end of their life, they look like each other. So Hanumanji was so amazed when he saw Mother Sita. It's complete absorption, basically. So Sita is a personification of this quality of absorption. She is known as Vaidehi. Dehi means body. And Vaidehi means someone who is beyond the body. So only when you are so absorbed in the higher consciousness that you can get out from the bodily consciousness. So we are so absorbed in the bodily consciousness, therefore we remain in it. So concerned about. See, it's a simple thing. I was just walking today in the airport. Now as I was walking by, I was thinking, so many stores are there. So many cosmetics and books and this and the paraphernalia. So many things are there, right? And the interesting thing is, as I was walking, I was seeing different people getting stuck at different places. Somebody getting stuck at food courts. Somebody getting stuck at gift items. Somebody getting stuck at clothes. So it depends on what you're absorbed in, isn't it? So if you're absorbed in a particular thing, that only you can see. Whatever you're absorbed in, that only you can see, basically. That, in fact, that shows the quality of your absorption. So what you're absorbed in, if somebody is absorbed in money, they'll see money everywhere. Business opportunities they'll see everywhere, Somebody is absorbed in fashion and trends, they will see that everywhere. If somebody is absorbed in knowledge, they will see that everywhere. Whatever you are absorbed in, you will see that only everywhere. And therefore, this Mother Sita was so absorbed in Ram, she was able to see Ram only everywhere. And it was amazing. Mother Sita, when she lived in Lanka, she was so absorbed in Ram that she saw a tree. She was living in Ashok Vatika, right? Ashok Vatika is a garden that is filled with Ashoka trees. And the most amazing thing is Ashoka trees, if you look at the flowers of the Ashoka tree, you can Google it later. The flowers of the Ashoka tree have a particular shape. The interesting thing about that shape of the flowers is that in the middle of the flower is a what do you call that, whirl, right? Something you call it, right? That the thing comes out, stigma, whatever you call it, I forgot biology. So that thing that comes out from the middle of the flower, when Mother Sita saw it, it looked like the bow of Lord Ram. And every day Sita would keep one flower of the Ashoka tree this side, one flower this side. And she would say, this is my Sita, my Lakshman and Ram protecting me. Imagine what absorption. I mean, we will see any flower, what we will remember? Can we see any connection with God? But Mother Sita was just so absorbed in Ram that in a flower she saw the presence of Ram. That's what Smaranam is basically. So when you are really absorbed in God, you will see the presence of God everywhere. And that's the power of Smaranam. Like say for example, the Bhagavad Gita has so many verses where Krishna is telling us how to remember Him. And if you study all those verses, many of the verses are about seeing Krishna in ordinary things of this world. Look at the sun. The sun is the eyes of Krishna. Look at water. Water is a taste of Krishna. Every single thing that you see in this world, you can connect it with Krishna. The interesting thing is, in the Gita, Krishna says, Yomam pashyati sarvatra, sarvatra mai pashyati. He says, Yomam pashyati sarvatra. He says, seeing me in everything and seeing everything in me. Of the two, seeing everything in Krishna is easy. Right? The whole existence you see in Krishna. That's why people worship deities, isn't it? Because in God you see everything. But to see God in everything is not easy. How can you see God in your mother-in-law who is very, very bad? Not easy, How can you see Krishna in a disease? How can you see Krishna in a financial mess that you are in? How can you see Krishna in a situation that you don't want to be in? Very difficult to see Krishna in bad people, on bad situations of life. But that's what absorption is. If you are really absorbed, even in the worst situation of life, you'll be able to see Krishna. And if you're not absorbed, even in the best situation of life, you'll not be able to see Krishna. Isn't it? And that's what Mother Sita was doing. She was in the worst situation. Can it get worse? Can it get worse than being trapped in Lanka with Ravan? Can it get worse than being trapped with 700 Rakshasis who are one-eyed, one-eared monsters trying to harass you and torture you? They're talking about, the Rakshasis, they're discussing. Look at the discussions, They're saying, whenever we kill this lady, I will eat her heart. One lady is saying, I'll eat her spleen. One lady is saying, I'll eat her legs, Imagine somebody talking about eating your body parts, It's not an easy situation to be in, In that situation, remembering Ram, not easy, isn't it? And that's what Smaranam is. That's what the power of Smaranam is. So Mother Sita represents Smaranam. So Shravanam is, Hanumanji, Kirtanam is Valmiki, Smaranam is Mother Sita, and then now the fourth one is Pada Sevanam. And Pada Sevanam is represented by Bharat. So there is a very interesting concept. There is one Acharya, Shiva Acharya. I mean, when I heard this, I was just so amazed. This devotee, he wrote in a matter of 45 minutes to an hour, he wrote 1,000 verses known as Paduka Sahasranam. If you chant those 1,000 verses, it takes more than 1 hour. He wrote them in such a short duration of time. Imagine. And what is this Paduka Sahasranam? Paduka Sahasranam is just glorification of the Paduka of Lord Ram. And Bharat is a personification of Padasevanam, because he dedicated his entire life to serve the lotus feet of the Lord. So when Bharat was just last 3 days in Seattle, I've been doing Ram Bharat Milap. We just completed the whole Ram Bharat Milap series by talking about how Bharat took the Paduka of Lord Ram away. This is a very beautiful analogy that the Acharyas give. It says that it is explained to understand the entire Ramayana in essence. An example is given. It is said there was a lion living in a cave. It was a huge cave and powerful lion. And this lion had a lioness, his wife, and a cub, lion cub. They were living in this cave on top of a cliff. When they were living in this cave on top of a cliff, an elephant in the forest trumpeted very loudly, challenged the lion for a fight. And this lion jumped from the cliff to go and fight with this elephant and kill him. And the cub and the lioness took the cub back into the cave. The Acharyas explained, this summarizes the entire Ramayana. That lion is Lord Ram and the elephant is Ravan. So when Ravan challenged Ram, Ram jumped to attack Ravan and finish him off. And who is the lioness? That lioness is the Paduka of Lord Ram. And who is the cub? The cub is Bharat. It's not that Bharat took Paduka back to Ayodhya, the Paduka took Bharat back. So the mood is that, so Bharat is not thinking, I am taking the Paduka of Ram back. Bharat is thinking, the Paduka is taking me back. And in the entire 14 years, Bharat served the Paduka of Lord Ram. And it's explained that every day, Bharat would do Abhishek of the Paduka in the Sarai river. So the event of doing the Abhishek of the Paduka of the Lord is known as Paduka Pattabhishek. So every day Bharat would do Abhishek of the Paduka of the Lord, and the water that washes the Paduka of the Lord would go into the Sarai river. It is explained that when Lord Ram was trying to cross the ocean to reach Lanka, he was asking all these people to what should I do to cross the ocean. So Vibhishan said 3 days you chant, you pray to the ocean god, and then he will give you permission. So 3 days Lord Ram prayed to the ocean god, and after 3 days of praying, the ocean god didn't come out only. So Ram got furious. He tells Lakshman, bring my bow and arrow. I want to dry up this ocean. So Lakshman goes, brings the bow. He forgets the arrow. Ram says, what I'll do with the bow? Get the arrow also. Now Lakshman goes and he gets a small arrow. Ram says, what is this? I am going to dry up the ocean. What is this small arrow you're getting? So Lakshman is hesitating to get the arrow. I mean, Lakshman is an angry young man in the Ramayana, right? All the time he's angry. How come he is hesitating here? Why is he not getting the arrow like that? The reason is because it is explained that Lakshman, look at Lakshman's thinking. Lakshman is thinking that the Bharat is washing the feet of the Paduka of Lord Ram in Sarai river. And the water from the Sarai river is coming and mixing in the ocean. So the river has got purified from the dust of the lotus feet of Ram. And that dust of the lotus feet of the Ram, Charanamrit of Ram, has entered into the ocean. Now the whole ocean is purified. If Ram dries up the ocean, what will the world think? Somebody who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, if he loses his existence, it will become the most hopeless thing for the world. Oops. Somebody is eagerly wanting to come.
Who has parked the car in that house?
Oh, okay. This is another type of absorption. The people are so eager to hear Ram Katha, they have parked anywhere and come. Anyway, so Bharat was so absorbed in the lotus feet of the Paduka of Lord Ram. It is explained that when Bharat put the Paduka on the throne of Ayodhya, every day Bharat would go and report to the throne, report to the Paduka of Lord Ram. Whatever he did in the day, he would go and report in the night to the Paduka. And it's explained when Bharat received the kingdom of Ayodhya from his father Dasharath Maharaj, the kingdom was of a particular size. But in those 14 years, the kingdom had expanded 9 times. So Bharat expanded the kingdom 9 times more. So he did not take the rights of the king, he took the responsibilities of the king. When he handed over the kingdom to Lord Ram, the kingdom was 9 times bigger. So imagine. So Bharat felt very responsible to report to the Paduka of Lord Ram. So that's what the whole idea of Padasevanam is basically. So the idea of Padasevanam is also connected to the idea of proprietorship. See, we think that we own properties, right? My house, my car, my phones, I feel that I am the owner of it. But the idea of Padasevana means I am a caretaker of it. The Lord owns it. I am simply taking care of that property on the behalf of the Lord. That is what Padasevanam really means. Lakshmi Devi in the spiritual world, it is explained, Lakshmi Devi lives in the spiritual world. What is her activity in the spiritual world? She is, massaging the feet of the Lord, isn't it? Who is Lakshmi Devi? Lakshmi Devi is the one after whom the whole world is running. Isn't it? All the dollar bills, Lakshmi Devi only, essentially, All the wealth in the world is Lakshmi. So imagine Lakshmi is the one who has everything, and what she thinks is her most important role to do, massage the feet of the Lord. Padasevanam, basically. And the second activity Lakshmi does in the spiritual world is Jhadu. Brooming the spiritual world. Now, why do you need to broom the spiritual world? There is no dirt only there. There is no dust only in the spiritual world. Lakshmi Devi is thinking, I want to do some seva to the Lord. And for her, brooming the dust in the floor is her way of serving the lotus feet of the Lord. So basically, the whole idea of Padasevanam is connected with the idea of giving up our sense of proprietorship and accepting the proprietorship of the Lord and considering ourselves to be a servant of the lotus feet of the Lord. So we spoke about Shravanam is Hanumanji, Kirtanam is Valmiki, Smaranam is Mother Sita, Padasevanam is Bharat. The fifth one is Archanam, is represented by Shabari in the Ramayana. So Shabari is the personification of deity worship. So what is the meaning of deity worship? Deity worship means you are worshipping the form of the Lord, the Archa Vigraha of the Lord. So deity worship is directly connected with Guru worship. You cannot do deity worship without the sanction of the spiritual master, right? So whenever you do any kind of deity worship at home or in the altar, in the temple, anywhere, you're doing it on behalf of your Guru. You're not doing it, we are not qualified to worship the Lord directly. The Guru tells us, on my behalf you worship the Lord. So therefore, whenever we do deity worship, we have to remember, I am not doing it. I am only doing it on behalf of my Guru, of my spiritual master. And that's exactly what Shabari does in the Ramayana. Matanga Rishi, her Guru, tells Shabari that you stay here and serve Lord Ram. So Matanga Rishi and all his disciples go back to the spiritual world. And they tell Shabari that Ram will come. You serve him, then come back. Now Shabari spent 13 long years waiting for Lord Ram to come. So from the time Matanga Rishi left till Ram comes, in my calculation, it's almost 13 long years. And for 13 long years, every single day, Shabari was cleaning the ashram. Every single day she was plucking flowers and making the best of garlands for Lord Ram. Every single day she was plucking the best of fruits for Lord Ram. So when Lord Ram came and Shabari offered these fruits and garlands to Lord Ram, and Ram was eating those fruits, he was so happy. It is explained, at that time, Ram was in the highest viraha of Mother Sita. He was in the highest level of separation of Mother Sita, right? He's lost her and he was madly searching after her. And then he reaches Shabari's ashram. And he had not eaten for days together. Who's going to eat and drink, right? He's so much in agony. But when Shabari was feeding Ram those fruits, he was eating so many fruits as if he would eat hundreds of kilos of fruits that day only. And Lakshmana was amazed looking at the appetite of Lord Ram, I mean, imagine if you have lost your wife. Of course, now appetite increases for a lot of men, They'll say, wow, what a story. I'm talking about when you really love your wife and then you lose your wife. That's like assuming, a theoretical assumption. I mean, if you have lost something that is so dear to you, will you be inspired to eat a lot? Obviously, appetite won't be there, isn't it? When you are in agony, appetite won't be there, So, Lakshmana was surprised seeing Ram eat so much. And the Acharyas explain that Ram was not eating the fruits. He was tasting Shabari's love. And Ram uses some words to describe Shabari. So he uses, the first word he says is Charu Bhashini. Charu Bhashini means the one whose speech is very sweet. So Ram uses Charu Bhashini to describe Shabari's speaking. And then he calls Shabari as Siddha. Siddha means somebody who has mystic powers. And then he calls Shabari as Tapasvi. And then finally he calls Shabari as Paricharyani. So that means someone who is always wanting to serve. So the mood of deity worship is always connected with cleanliness. So if you are wanting to serve the deities, you have to be connected to the principle of cleanliness. And therefore, if you see, the description that is given in the Ramayana is that Shabari cleaned every day the ashram of Matanga Rishi. And she cleaned the clothes every day of all the sadhus in Matanga Rishi's ashram. And she plucked fresh flowers every day. She plucked fresh fruits every day. So there's a lot of description of cleanliness. There's a lot of description of culture. Now, the story of Shabari eating half the fruit and giving half the fruit to Ram, it is not in Valmiki Ramayana. Because any cultured person won't do that. But at the same time, the mood is correct. So if somebody says that story, it's not a problem. That's not that the story is absolutely bogus. The mood is correct. It's a mood of love. But from a Valmiki Ramayana point of view, it is not the standard of deity worship. It's not that you eat and give Ram. That's not the standard of deity worship that Valmiki speaks about. And now of course the Acharyas also speak about. So Shabari had a very high standard of deity worship. Imagine her guru told her once, wait here, Ram will come. How long will you wait? Matanga Rishi is not given any date. He is not given that when he is going to come. He said he will come. And he went to the spiritual world. And Shabari is waiting over here. Every day she is cleaning. Every day she is plucking flowers. Every day she is making garlands. Every day she is getting fruits. At some point your patient runs out, isn't it? At some point, yaar, bahut ho gaya. How much I will wait over here, But that's not how deity worship works. Deity worship works with the principle of certainty. Certainty means, if I do this, then someday reciprocation will come. So that means we do it with the thought that my guru has told me to do, that's all. For me, nothing else matters. And the most amazing thing about this story is that when Ram came, the day Ram came, and the day she served Ram over there, immediately after serving Ram, she tells him, can I please go back to my guru? I have done my service. right in front of Lord Ram, she ends her, she self-immolates herself with her yogic powers. She goes back to her Guru, Matanga Rishi, to serve him there. So that means your Guru helps you connect with Ram, and Ram helps you connect back with Guru. It's a cycle. So it's not that Guru is a stepping stone to reach God and then you kick the ladder away. That's what a lot of people think. I need the Guru to reach God, and then after I reach God, I don't need the ladder anymore. No. After you reach God also, you go back to your Guru only. When you enter the spiritual world in Vaikuntha, the entrance of the spiritual world, you will be asked one question. Who are you? If you tell your name, you will not be given entry. You have to tell your spiritual master's name. The moment you tell your spiritual master's name, then you get entry. That's the process of spirituality. So connection with God is always through spiritual master. And that's what the whole idea of Shabari is. And that's why she represents the idea of Archanam. Then the next person who represents the next process in Navavidha Bhakti is Vibhishan, who represents the principle of Vandanam, offering prayers. When one prays, one's lower nature goes away. See, we all have a lower nature that we carry in our lives. And that lower nature is selfish. That lower nature that we have is self-centered. It's very, very self-centric, basically. But the moment someday we start understanding this mood of prayers, we understand the element of prayers, then we can slowly overcome our lower nature. The Srimad Bhagavatam explains, all of us, when we are born, the Srimad Bhagavatam calls, the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the living entity in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam is described by one word. You know what the Bhagavatam calls the living entity, the third canto? The living entity is called by Bhagavatam as Jantu. You know what the meaning of the word Jantu? Jantu means it. It. All of us, when we are born, we are Jantu. We are nothing, literally. And we are highly selfish. A Jantu is only thinking about himself. You see, when a child is born, put in mouth. Whatever you get, you put in mouth. Isn't it? You've seen small children, whatever they can get, they'll just straight put in their mouth. That's all they can think of. All they can think of is somehow or the other, for me. You tell a small child to share a toy with somebody else. Gone. That's it. They can't imagine sharing with somebody else. That's the state at which we are all born. Unfortunately, a lot of people die at that state only. Till the day they die, they are Jantu only. So there will be a point in every child's life. One day the child suddenly feels that my mother is feeding me so much. Today let me feed my mother. The day the child extends the hand and feeds the mother or father, that day the child progresses from being a Jantu to being a Jiva. It's a progression. It's a massive progression in the mindset of a child. And the day you understand the idea of spirituality, the day you understand that you are not the body or spirit soul, that day you progress from being a Jiva to the Atma Tattva level. That's another major shift in your mindset. And from the Atma Tattva level to reach the Vaikuntha Chetana, it's a huge journey. It's a massive journey. That's the progression of a living entity. From Jantu to Jiva, from Jiva to Atma Tattva, and from Atma Tattva to Vaikuntha Chetana. In the Ramayana, we find Vibhishan. He was living among Jantus. He was living in Lanka. Lanka is a place filled with Jantus. Every guy over there, every person over there is it. He's a living entity. Of course, nowadays, a lot of people in America seems to be having some strange identity issues, trying to identify himself, different ways. So in Lanka, every single person was so selfish, so self-centric, only thinking about himself, not bothered about anybody else. That mindset is a very, very powerful and a very, very materialistic mindset. Unfortunately, our modern education system trains us with that mindset only. Isn't it? By the end of our modern education system, by the time you finish your college, you are a highly selfish guy. Isn't it? Highly selfish guy. And you are trained to be highly selfish. What is MBA? MBA teaches you difference between friend and enemy. What works in your favor and what doesn't work in your favor. That's what Prahlad Maharaj is telling his friends, isn't it? So the whole idea of Vibhishan, he lived in a family, lived in a community that was selfish. But from there, he grew and he progressed to Vaikuntha Chetana. And the way he did it is by the power of prayers. Two episodes in Vibhishan's life that stand out is when the whole family, Ravan's family, Ravan, Kumbhakarna, Vibhishan and Shurpanakha together prayed to Lord Brahma. A family that prays together stays together. A family that dances together, advances together. A family that sings together, clings together. So they were hoping like that. But when Brahma appeared, Ravan asked for some strange boon, Vibhishan, Kumbhakarna asked for some strange boon, Shurpanakha asked for some strange boon. And Vibhishan, what a boon he asks. He says, the only boon I want is, may I never deviate from the path of dharma. Ravan and all said, hey, are you gone mad? What are you doing? Ask for something useful. What is this? Is this a boon to ask? And they started saying, you are a blot on our family. Shurpanakha, when she introduces her family to Lord Ram, she says there is one black sheep in our family. This guy doesn't fit in only. That's how she introduces Vibhishan. And when Ram hears that, he says, wow, I want to meet him. So by kind of, talking about Vibhishan in her style, Shurpanakha actually gave a very first good impression in Ram's mind. So if Rakshasas, if demons talk bad about you, it's good. That means you're doing something good. So Ram was very impressed with Vibhishan. He said, wow, this guy is something interesting. I want to meet him. And the second time Vibhishan offered his prayers is when he appeared in front of Lord Ram. He gave up his family. He gave up his kula. He gave up his wealth. He gave up all his powers. After giving up all that, he comes in front of Lord Ram with his hands folded. When Vibhishan comes in front of Ram with his hands folded, and Sugriv, he sees Vibhishan, coming with him with his hands folded. So he had a gada hanging in between, His hand was folded and a mace was hanging in between. So Sugriv looks at Vibhishan and he tells all the Vanaras, this fellow is dangerous. He is carrying the most powerful weapon in front of which Ram cannot do anything. So the Vanaras, when they were looking at Vibhishan, they thought that Gada is powerful, And Sugriva explained, hey, this fellow's folded hands is the most powerful weapon. When you come in front of Ram with folded hands, that's it. Ram loses. Ram cannot win against you. So Sugriva says, this fellow knows how to win Ram's heart. Folded hands. And this folded hands is a concept in Sharanagati known as Akinchanatvam. What is it? For surrender, there are two steps. The first step of surrender is folded hands. When you fold your hands, what does it mean? Folded hands means Akinchanatvam means I have nothing. I possess nothing. So when you go in front of God, you don't give a visiting card. Say I am CEO of this company. I own a Tesla. These are not things that you go and tell God. You don't give your qualification to God, basically. You go in front of God with your hands folded, saying that I own nothing. I have nothing. So when you go in front of God, when you start saying that I have a lot, God doesn't care for you. But that's not what impresses God. You should go, the word akinchan literally means beggar. So when you go in front of God, you have to go as a beggar with nothing. Because all your material opulences, all your education, all your wealth, everything is actually nothing. The day you understand whatever I have is nothing, that day you can actually fold your hands. And Vibhishan realized it that day. Vibhishan realized that the family that I thought was mine, it just disappeared. The wealth that I thought was mine, it just disappeared. The power and opulences I thought was mine is just gone. And now I actually have nothing. This is the first step of Sharanagati, Akinchanatvam. And the second step in Sharanagati is known as Ananyagatim. Ananyagatim means I have nowhere else to go. The problem with us is that we have many options. If this God doesn't work, I'll go to this God. If this God also doesn't work, I'll go to this Baba. I have many options basically. If nothing more, I'll go to an astrologer. So we keep many options open basically. So for those who have many options, they don't have God as an option basically. Ananyagati means I have no other option. I have closed all doors and come to you. And that's exactly what Vibhishan did, isn't it? Vibhishan closed all doors. He can't go back to Lanka. He can't say, sorry, I made a mistake, Gussa mein chala gaya. He can't go back. Ravan will kill him if he goes back. So he closed all the doors and then came to Ram. See, when you come to God saying that, coming to God is like backup plan. Chalta nahi hai. That doesn't work. When you come to God, you close all your doors and then come. That's known as Ananyagatim. So when Vibhishan came in front of Ram, he had 4 people with him. 2 of his people had their hands folded like this. And 2 of his people had their legs folded. I don't know if you've seen in South Indian temples when they offer dandavats, obeisances, they fold their legs. Have you ever wondered why? When you fold your legs, you can't go anywhere else. Isn't it? That's what folded leg means. I have folded my leg, I have no other option. I will not go anywhere else. That's what Vandanam is. And Vibhishan is a personification of Vandanam. And the next, so just revise again. Shravanam is Hanumanji, Kirtanam is Valmiki, Smaranam is Mother Sita, then Pada Sevanam is Bharat, and then Archanam is Shabari, and 6th Vandanam is Vibhishan. And now the 7th one is Dasyam. And Dasyam in the Ramayana is represented by Lakshman. Lakshman was a personification of Dasya Bhava. And not only Lakshman, his mother was another level of Dasya. When his mother, Sumitra, so all the mothers, when they were given the kheer, the sweet rice to swallow, consume, each one of the mothers consumed the sweet rice with a particular consciousness, with a particular thought. And the children that were born to them were born with that thought only. Kaushalya consumed the nectar with the thought that let me have a child who is a king of the universe. Let me have a child who will rule the world. And she was, Ram was born to her. Kaikeyi consumed the nectar with the thought that let me have a child who will be able to carry the burden of the world. Bharat was born. And what is the burden that he carried? He carried the burden of Ayodhya for those 14 years. Bharavahi iti Bharata. So the kingdom of Ayodhya felt like a burden for him. He didn't enjoy the kingdom, but he carried the load of the responsibility of the kingdom. And Sumitra, before she consumed the nectar, she offered a prayer. You know what she prayed? She prayed, let me have 2 sons who will be the servants of the son of Kaushalya and Kaikeyi. And Lakshmana and Shatrugna were born. Imagine, what a consciousness of the mother. Has any mother in the world prayed, let me have a servant as a child? Every mother prays, let me have a king, let me have a boss, let me have a CEO as a child, let me have a scientist, Here is a mother praying, let me have 2 sons who are servants. the highest qualification in this world is the word das. That's the highest qualification in the world. That's the highest padvi, upadi that you can get in this world. I mean, there is no other upadi, there is no other designation that is higher than das. And therefore, at the end of our life, all that we are goes away. And the only thing that remains is that we are das. That's all. And if possible, we should be das, dasanu das. The world wants to be boss, boss on boss. You know? We want to be boss of the whole world. But spiritual life helps us, go a little deeper and to become the servant of the devotees. So Lakshman, when he was leaving Ayodhya to go to the forest to serve Sita and Ram, he meets his mother. And his mother gives him an amazing instruction. Look at the mother. The mother is telling Lakshman that Ramam Dashratim Vidhim Mama Vidhi Janakatmaja. Wow. Progressively increasing volume. So the children give you warning a little bit, If you don't understand the warning, then they increase. So Sumitra is saying, Ramam Dashratim Vidhim Mama Vidhim Janakatmaja Ayodhya Atavim Vidhim Gacchatat Yathasukam. She says, from now onwards, Lakshman is leaving Ayodhya. She says, from now onwards, Ramam Dashratim Vidhim. From now onwards, your father is not Dashrath, your father is Ram. And he says, from now onwards, I am not your mother. She says, Mama Vidhim Janakatmaja. Sita is your mother from now onwards. And she says, Ayodhyam Atavim Vidhim. From now onwards, your home is not Ayodhya. The forest is Ayodhya for you. Forest is your home for you. And then she says, Gacchatat Yatha Sukham. Serving Sita and Ram, that's where your happiness should lie. So that's what the mother gives Lakshman as an instruction, final instruction. So Lakshman, he serves Ram and Sita like anything. So when Ram gets the news of his father dying, Dasharatha Maharaj's death, Ram tells Lakshman, he tells Sita, your father-in-law is dead. And Ram tells Lakshman, your father is dead. But Ram never says, my father is dead. Because he finds the presence of his father in Lakshman. See, Ram never missed Dasharath. Because he found the care of Dasharath in Lakshman. The way a father would take care of the child, that's the way Lakshman served Ram and took care of Ram. And Ram, at one point in time, Lakshman constructed a very beautiful house for Ram and Sita to reside in. And every room in the house was exquisitely constructed. I mean, he had nothing, no resources. Whatever he got in the forest, he used that and made this house. Ram asked Lakshman, we both went to the same school. Where did you learn this? I never learned this, constructing houses, So Lakshman told him, my dear Ram, you learned all that is needed to become a master. And I learned everything that is needed to become a servant. He learned some extra skills, basically. Ram was so impressed with Lakshman, so impressed. When he went around the house, he saw Lakshman had made rooms. He had made a room where Sita and Ram can have private time together. He made a room where Sita and Ram can receive guests. He made a room where Sita can cook. He made a room where Ram can offer worship. But in the entire house, he didn't make any room for himself. So Ram was surprised. How did my brother come to know that I want a room to spend private time with Sita? As an elder brother, he couldn't say it. He was feeling shy to say. But Lakshman understood. So Ram tells Lakshman, you are dharmagya, bhavagya and kritagya. So what is the meaning of dharmagya, bhavagya, kritagya? Dharmagya means someone who understands the dharma of being a servant. Lakshman didn't make a room for himself in the house. He constructed a place for himself in the opposite mountain. In Chitrakoot, there are two mountains. One is a mountain on which Ram's house was. And in the opposite mountain, he constructed a house for himself. So that Lakshman can keep a watch, guard Sita and Ram from a distance, but at the same time, he's giving privacy to Sita and Ram. So he stayed on another mountain. Imagine how much privacy he gave them, basically. So the dharma of a servant is not to intrude in the master's life. The dharma of the servant is to facilitate the master. And the second thing is, Ram says he is bhavagya. Bhavagya means he understands the bhava of the guru, bhava of the spiritual master, bhava of Lord Ram. See, today disciples understanding the bhava of the guru is very rare. Disciples having too much bhava is very much there, Some disciples, all disciples have too much bhava nowadays, But disciples understanding the bhava of the spiritual master is very rare. Ram says, you are bhavagya, you understand my mood completely. And then he says, you are kritagya. Kritagya means, kritagya comes from the word kriya. Kriya is expertise. So Lakshmana was expert in everything that he did. So when Lakshmana introduced himself to Hanumanji, look at this introduction. He tells Hanumanji, the world thinks that I am the brother of Ram, but actually I am only a servant of Ram. This is Dasya Bhav, basically. And finally, the last two, Sakhyam is represented by Sugriv. Sakhyam means friendship. So when, the idea of friendship means the idea that I do anything to make the life of my friend easy. I'll do anything to help my friend with all his problems. Today, friendship is so hollow, isn't it? Most people, the kind of friendship they have, you scratch my back, I scratch your back. You stop scratching my back, I stop scratching your back. Isn't it? That's what our understanding of friendship is. But Sugriv, the way he served Ram in Sakhyam is amazing. Of course, Sugriv is a monkey, not worth being called a friend or equal to Ram. But Ram considers him to be his friend. And Ram is so amazing. When Sugriv came in front of Lord Ram and he stood in front of Ram, it is explained that Ram and Sugriv were staring at each other for a long period of time. Sugriv staring at Ram makes sense. Ram is so beautiful. It's worth staring for forever. But Ram staring at Sugriv doesn't make sense. Why is Ram staring at Sugriv? He's a monkey. Doesn't look so handsome as such, Why is Ram staring at him? It is explained, this was a turning point in Sugriv's life. This was a point where Sugriv is thinking of serving Ram. The moment a living entity starts thinking that I want to serve God, that is a transformative moment in a living entity's journey. And that's what the idea of Sakhyam is. So if you look at Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Bhaktosami Sakha Cheti. What is the Sakha Krishna is talking about? Sakha doesn't necessarily mean only friendship. Sakha means non-enviousness. A friend is someone that is not envious of you. Isn't it? I mean, imagine you're competing with the entire world. There should be some people you don't compete with, na? Isn't it? There should be at least 1-2 people in your life that you don't compete with. And those 1-2 people that you don't feel like competing with, those are your friends. God forbid if husband and wife start competing with each other, what will exist, isn't it? So at least that some relationships in your life should not be competitive relationships. There should not be envy. The moment you come across some relationships where you do not want to compete, that's what Sakhyam is about. So why does Krishna say Sakhyam as one of the things, Bhaktosami Sakha Cheti, as to understand the greatest secret, Rahasyam Eta Uttamam? Because to be able to connect with Krishna, to be able to connect with God, you have to be non-envious. And only then you can serve God. So Sugriva represents the idea of Sakhyam, and he represents the idea of someone who stood by his friend through thick and thin. Ram also stood by him, but he also stood by Ram, like anything, basically. I mean, imagine Sugriva is getting nothing out of it. But yet, he put his entire army at stake, put his entire life at stake to serve his friend. When Sugriva went to attack Ravan, before the war, he just jumped to Ravan's palace and went to fight against Ravan. When he came back, Ravan of course beat him up very badly, and somehow Sugriva escaped and came back. When he came back, Ram chastised Sugriva like anything. He said, what did you do? What would have happened if you had died over there in Ravan's hands? What would I have said to Vashishta, my guru? How would I have lived my life? So Sugriva felt so good. Ram is chastising him. Sugriva is feeling so good being chastised because he could see the love Ram has for him. And then Sugriva realized, I want to give my life to this person. Worth giving my life to this person. That's what the whole idea of Sakyam is. And finally, the last of the Navavidha Bhakti, the ninth one is known as Atmanivedanam. And that is represented by Jatayu. Jatayu actually gave his life. He's not just a theoretical understanding of Atmanivedanam. He actually gave his life to Lord Ram. Jatayu had an option of only doing what Sita tells him or doing what Sita tells him a little more. This is the two options we all have in our lives. So there is something that you do which is told to you. And then there is something you do a little more than what is told to you. That makes all the difference. That makes all the difference in how much you progress. There are some people who do what is told to them. And then there are some people who go an extra mile. Those who go an extra mile, they are the ones who are actually wanting to do so much. See, what is told to you, everybody will do. What did Sita tell Jatayu? She told him, give information to Ram that Ravan has kidnapped me. So easy, isn't it? Jatayu could have slept for some more time. He was sleeping there in that tree, He was so drowsy, he was so old. He could have continued sleeping for some more time and Ram came shouting for Sita. He could have told him information. Ravan took Sita. Over. Service khatam, And technically he would have done what Sita told him also, isn't it? But Jatayu felt responsible. Jatayu felt that, how will I deal with my conscience? How will I deal with my conscience later? If Ravan kidnapped Sita and I didn't even try, how will I deal with it? So Jatayu sacrificed his life. It is explained in that episode, two people died. Jatayu died and Marich died. Two people died in that same episode basically. Marich died serving Ravan and Jatayu died serving Ram. Marich died in the hand of Ram and Jatayu died in the hands of Ravan. People say, what fortune Marich had, he died in the hands of Ram. But unfortunately, the last breath he was serving Ravan when he died. The last breath he didn't chant the name of Ram. He chanted the name of Lakshman and Sita and died. If he was actually a devotee of Ram, he would have chanted the name of Ram when he died. But Jatayu when he died in the hands of Ravan. But he died serving Ram. Till the last moment of his life, he's holding his breath only to give that information to Ram. It's not that he did some extra service and forgot the original service. बोलने से पहले मर गया. He held his breath till the last breath. He didn't forget his service which was given to him. Held his breath till Ram came, gave him. And the most amazing thing is, even while dying, Jatayu gave hope to Ram and died. When Ram came towards him, Jatayu, first word that comes out, Ram actually thought Jatayu was a demon who had eaten up Sita, and he was bleeding and lying over there. Ram came with a bow and arrow to kill him. But the moment Ram came closer, Jatayu uttered the first word. He said, Ayushman. What is the meaning of the word Ayushman? Ayushman is giving blessings to Lord Ram. So Ram told Lakshman, the moment Sita disappeared, they were missing. Ram told Lakshman, I cannot live for a day without Sita. I will die if I don't find Sita. And he continued living for 10 months without Sita. The Acharyas explained, how did he continue living for 10 months? The blessing of Jatayu, Ayushman. Jatayu gave the blessings. So, Jatayu was such an amazing person that he gave his entire life for serving Sita and Ram. Atmanivedanam, from our point of view, we don't have to give our lives. We have to dedicate our lives. The Atmanivedanam is an understanding of dedication. Dedication means my life belongs to Ram. My life belongs to Krishna. And because my life belongs to the Lord, I need to live my life. I need to use this body. I need to use my talents. I need to use my skills in a way that is useful to Ram, useful to Krishna. I mean, we are all useful to ourselves and our families, isn't it? But how can I be useful to God? How can I be useful to my Guru? That is the idea of Atmanivedanam. So I'll just quickly summarize all the 9. We spoke about Shravanam, which is Hanumanji, Kirtanam, Valmiki, Smaranam, Mother Sita, Padasevanam, Bharat, Vandanam, Vibhishan, Archanam, Shabari, Dasyam, Lakshman, Sakhyam, Sugriv, Atmanivedanam, Jatayu. What is the 9th one? I missed one.
Vibhishan was
Vandanam. No, Dasyam I said Lakshman. Vandanam is Vibhishan. 9. So with this we see that the Ramayana is very much a bhakti literature. For those who ever tell you that Ramayana doesn't have bhakti in it, you tell them all this 9 processes of bhakti in the Ramayana. And the most amazing part of Ramayana is that every single part of Ramayana is surcharged with devotion, if you look at it in that way. So let us all take shelter of these great scriptures and find hope in them, find great joy in them, and learn so much from them. Before I end, I just thought I'll give you a quick introduction of my books. The books are now almost 40 of them. People get very confused what to buy and what not to buy, but nobody understands what is there and what, And the speed at which I'm writing,
Prabhuji, first word I want to tell to you is Ayushman.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your wonderful lecture and for your books. I think I'll make my husband to buy all of those. So I was reading parts of Ramayana and I wanted to understand why Sita Devi asked for that deer. So in that book which I was reading, I think it was authentic, like it was a Ramayana book. They were mentioning that because she wanted the skin of the deer, and then that's why.
Who was the author of that book?
I don't remember.
Okay.
So
So that whoever is the author of that book is inauthentic, by the way. She definitely didn't want the skin of the deer. She wanted that deer as a pet in Ayodhya. She wanted to take the deer with her as a pet in Ayodhya. That's the way I understood that story. I've never heard from any authentic sources that she wanted the skin of that deer. Okay?
thank you.
I mean, just to give you a deeper insight, Mother Sita is so compassionate that she wouldn't even allow demons to be killed. Even the Kakasur who attacked her, she prevented Ram from killing that Kakasur. How would she ever think of getting the skin of the deer? She has such a compassionate heart. Okay? Thank you. Anything else? Yes.
Thank you for the wonderful lecture. My question was that you described all the Navavidha Bhaktis, but I was wondering where does Hanuman, he's into everything?
Hanuman is Shravanam first. We started with Hanumanji. Shravanam. Yeah. Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much for the nice class. I have put this question from Srimad Bhagavatam when Narad Muni is explaining to Vyasdeva that you have done all these literatures but you have not glorified pure devotional service. At that time we also read Ramayana is one of the texts in the purports given by Srila Prabhupada. So how do we understand this? If Ramayana is already explaining the 9 forms of devotional service and it is meant for glorifying devotion to Lord, then why is it?
So, if you notice, Ramayana is a part of Bhagavatam also. 9th canto Ramayana is there. Shukadeva Goswami speaks Ramayana in 9th canto. But he tells Parikshit that because you already know Ramayana, I am only giving it to you in essence. If Parikshit didn't know Ramayana, he would have spoken in much detail, basically. And of course, by that time, Parikshit had less time, right? So he was running short of time. So he wanted to get into the 10th canto directly. So that means the fact that Ramayana is there in the Srimad Bhagavatam means it is a pure bhakti literature, right? Isn't it? Otherwise, why would it be there? Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you so much for the very fantastic class. I'm very pleased to actually hear that, especially when I came for the class, I was thinking it's only going to be about the Navavidha Bhakti, but then I've been recently hearing a lot about Gayatri Ramayana, so then that's why I was very excited to hear how you connect to Ramayana itself. So my question was, you mentioned about the family that prays together, stays together in the Vibhishana context. So why was Vibhishana different? Is there a backstory why Vibhishana specifically chose the path of dharma over the others?
Everything has a backstory. So the backstory to this is that the father and mother of all these guys was Vishravas and Kaikashi. So Kaikashi was a daughter of Rakshasa. And this Rakshasa, his name was Suketu, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, so this Rakshasa, he wanted his daughter to get married to a Brahmana, so that the combination of a Brahmana and a Rakshasa will be a very powerful person. That was his strategy. So they fooled Vishravas in marrying Kaikashi. So they kept a lot of facts hidden, the motives behind it basically. So when Vishravas understood what really their intention was, he got really angry on Kaikashi and he cursed her. And then Kaikashi started begging forgiveness. And because she begged forgiveness, Vishravas calmed down and he said, you will have one son who will be different. He will be a personification of dharma. That is the blessing of his father, that Vibhishana is different.
Thank you for the talk, Prabhu. My question was more on Valmiki and chanting. So there's a lot of information around offensive chanting or not to chant, a certain way. You should always listen each and every word and things of that nature. Valmiki, on the other hand, he couldn't even say Ram. He was actually saying the other thing with Ram, but he still purified his consciousness. So any thoughts there?
Yeah. In my understanding, when the mantra is given by the spiritual master, that mantra gives you the strength to overcome offenses. And the second thing is that when you chant, so when Valmiki was chanting, he had no idea about what an offense was. He was chanting in an innocent spirit, basically. And he was doing what his guru tells him. So he just blindly followed Narad Muni. And that was his qualification, basically. So first of all, the guru giving you the mantra is the first part. And the second, you being innocent and sincere in following what your guru says, without, judging it, without thinking too much, without, using your intelligence. The combination of the two is what purified Valmiki so fast. Yeah. There's a question here. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you so much for coming and giving this beautiful lecture. I don't know how time passed, and there's so much absorption here that I can feel. I just had two quick questions. One is, can you talk about a little bit about Shri Ram's Charma Shloka, Sakradeva Prapannaya? And another question that I have is to whatever degree of surrender one might have in terms of, you were talking about, okay, what is my service to God? So whatever degree one surrenders or has that thought, I feel like the Lord aligns your life in whatever way your life drags you. He aligns you in such a way that you can actually find an answer, and even though situations seem hard, you're actually being protected and guided. Is that a right assumption or observation?
Yeah. So this verse Sakradeva Prapannayam is something that Lord Ram chants when the Vanaras tell Ram that Vibhishan has come, and they don't want to bring Vibhishan to Ram because they feel he's a threat. So then Ram chants this verse, he narrates this verse and he says, Sakradeva Prapannayam tavasmi iti yachate abhayam sarvada tasmai. So he says that if anyone once tells that I am yours, he comes to me and once says I am yours, that person is mine. I accept that person as mine. And he says, Abhayam Sarvada Tasmai. He says, forever he has my blessings, my Abhay. So, and he doesn't have to fear anything. So this is the Lord's compassion, So, Lord Ram, he said, to the extent, even if Ravan comes next, forget Vibhishan, even if Ravan comes, you don't come and ask me whether I should get or not, just get him, that's all. As far as the idea of the Lord guiding us is concerned, to the extent we are sincere, to that extent we receive guidance. Krishna in the Gita says, Atesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam vipayanti. He says, dadami buddhi yogam tam. He says, I give you the intelligence. So what is the meaning of intelligence? Intelligence not necessarily means IQ above 150. That's not what intelligence means. Intelligence essentially means your ability to understand deeper truths of life. So that realization and that intelligence comes from the blessings of the Lord. So there are many people who hear lectures, but how many people actually implement them? How many people live by those lectures? So that intelligence comes from the Lord.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just one comment, Prabhu. Thank you very much for that beautiful lecture. I saw this title before, but I never heard this lecture. It's very beautiful. As you were mentioning, wherever Ram Katha is spoken, Hanuman is there in some form or the other. And wherever you go, you actually speak Ram Katha. So I was actually thinking, just as Prabhupada brought Srimad Bhagavatam or the other way. See, wherever you go, you bring Hanuman and Ram Katha. So thank you very much for making this your stop.
Thank you. Happy to serve. The interesting thing is, wherever I go, people ask me to speak Ramayana only. Of course, I love to speak, so I have no problem. Yeah, it works both ways. Okay, yes.
Hare Krishna, Ji. Firstly, thank you so much for the wonderful lecture. And thank you so much for introducing all of the books amazing books that you have written. I just had a follow-up question that Prabhuji asked, that how is Vibhishan different? And Vibhishan is also one of the 8 Chiranjeevis, right? So what makes Vibhishan a Chiranjeevi?
So this is Lord Ram's blessings on him. So good people should live long. That's the idea behind Chiranjeevis. So when you find good people, we should always hope and pray that they live long. Unfortunately, bad people really live long. So this is Lord Ram's blessings on Vibhishan for the service that he did, and for standing so authentically in the midst of such a bad environment. That shows that he is so good that he deserves to live long. Thank you. Very, very grateful to all of you all. One last question, maybe? Yeah.
I can speak.
Yeah.
How do we find friends like Sugriv?
How do you find friends like Sugriv?
Yeah.
I'll give you one word. In Rupa Goswami's Nectar of Instruction, he uses a word called Swajatiya Vaishnava. In my understanding, the translation of that word Swajatiya means like-mindedness. If you want to find good friends, look for people who are like-minded. When I'm saying like-minded, doesn't mean that they like the same pizza that you like. Like-minded doesn't mean... that's not what I mean. Like-minded means that those who have the same value systems that you have. Look for such people and invest in them. And definitely should read this Magic of Friendship book, because it will give you some powerful thoughts on friendship. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. So grateful to all of you all. Yes.